When people ask me, what does TKM do? I think back to our first trip to West Africa and Ghana in 2011. We were going to the Volta region, which borders with the country of Togo and the eastern side of Ghana. And we had advertised for 3 days over radio and over a truck loudspeaker that we were hosting our first TKM camp in the region.
So the first day we came and there was literally a mob of kids waiting for us. And so of course we could not. It was Troy and I. This is about 4 or 5 years ago, and there was no way that we were going to be able to manage this mob of kids.
Our host at the time, Xavier, took little pieces of paper that he had cut into squares, and he gave them tickets for 100 to come on the first day, 100 to come on the second day, and then the last 100 to come on the third day. On the first day of camp, there was only 100. On the second day, there was 120, and on the last day, there was 150. And we said, where did these kids come from? You have to have a ticket. They all had tickets. You see, what had happened is these children took these tickets, and they split them in 2 or 3 pieces, and they gave them to their friends. It's because they were so hungry for an opportunity to study and to learn.
But as we tried to close the gate, there was this wooden, grass-made, probably with bamboo tied together gate that was in front of the venue, because it was an outside venue. Most of the venues that we teach at in these developing countries are outside. And the kids who could not go that day, you would think, okay, I have my ticket, I'll go home. No ma'am, no sir. They started tearing the gate apart just to see what was being taught that day.
This example showed me how much education is needed and how much kids in the developing world thirst and hunger for an opportunity to succeed. TKM gives them a reason to hope.
And so we get to work. TKM Purpose Education is an educational system that will start from the inside out.
We start from the core of a person, the identity of a person, the value, innate value in each one of our students.
Most of the time in education, we are feeding children cookie cutter systems or cookie cutter ideas where we expect all of them to end the same. Because of the masses, we don't get the time or we don't have the resources to be able to have individualized curriculum and education that pulls out what's best in them.
What we teach is not so different, but the way we teach it is completely different. We focus not only on curriculum and character, but we really focus on the core of who we are as humans. That is, questions such as, who am I? What is my role? What is my purpose in my particular context?
There's some girl in Indonesia that doesn't think she's pretty. Or some girl in Saudi Arabia who's told that she's not supposed to learn. What if they came into an atmosphere who showed them how beautiful they were created, how purposeful they are, whether they will never leave their street, they will never leave their country, but what was put in them when creation happened is just as important as Bill Gates, as Warren Buffett, as Barack Obama.
We seek to see students understand their identity, to understand their significance, to understand that they have innate value and that they can be part of the greater world story.
And no, this is not a fluffy, flowery kind of thing where they will not be able to matriculate through society and be global citizens and produce what the world needs. This will be a multidiscipline, multicultural kind of learning where kids will be able to learn from different aspects of different backgrounds so that they're able to understand how they fit in the global society. Because what we find is Ghana's problems are now the US problems. North Korea's problems are now China's problems. India's problems are now Pakistan's problems. What we have to realize is that we are in this world together at this moment, at this time. We have big problems on this earth. And only if we tap into our inner selves and what has already been laid in us by the Creator will we be able to solve some of the biggest problems of today. Because we all have a place here on earth. And so purpose education starts at that foundation. Because as they said with the Empire State Building, if the foundation was not in the right setting, on the 42nd floor, it would have topped over. And that's what most of our young people's lives are. They do well for the beginning, but because their foundation of who they are and what they were created to be is not strong, they topple over when they're 15 and 16 and 17, midlife crisis at 40. But what if they came into an atmosphere that accepted them just the way they are with what they had and drove into them that you have been placed on this earth for purpose. And what lies within you, creation waits for.
So some people are asking, how does a school work? How do you run a school? And what is TKM and how are they involved in these schools? As TKM, Project 10-10-10, we are committing to 10 driven years, opening 10 dynamic schools in 10 desolate places. That is finding areas or regions of the world that have a need for education, that have a need for strengthening their society.
There will be a strong foundation where children will learn from what they were innately created to be, from their purpose point. And from that purpose point, we will connect with administrators and teachers and communities on the ground to fill out the curriculum so that it reflects their nation.
Our goal is to start something and support the people who are in the local region to actually run it and maintain it.
And the beautiful thing about TKM education is not a cookie cutter education. What will work in Indonesia will be something totally different that will work in South Africa or in Ghana.
We would give them the vision, which is to build the schools in a way that encourages the students to know their purpose, the teachers to understand the impact they can have on their community. For example, we have math class would be focused on the meaning of the numbers, the meaning of how numbers connect with demographics, of how numbers connect with society and statistics. Science would be for significance, not just science as what is it, but science as how does this apply to my life? How does it affect the decisions I make in health and what I eat? What kind of diseases are in the world and what is my role in solving these things? In this way, we feel that purpose education will give meaning to each subject, will give a purpose for the reason they're studying, and will really impact the society in which they live in and uphold and give them the ability to change their world.
What we want is children in Ghana wanting to be in Ghana. What we want is children in China wanting to stay in China. That there is a love for their nation and their country, that they use their gifts and their talents and their ability to build everyone out of poverty. There's a saying, a rising tide lifts all boats. What if there was an educational tide that came through the nations that helped to lift all boats across the board? No, everyone is not going to be a millionaire. No, everyone is not going to be a billionaire. But if the gifts and the talents and the resources that lie within each person was used for their nation, how great would nations who are suffering now be able to rise?
This is the kind of new education Purpose Schools will bring to every place that a new school is built.
We have had a wonderful experience over the last 7 to 8 years, traveling to over 30 plus countries, sharing this love and being able to educate children from all different backgrounds, from all different economical situations, from all different stories.
We have gone from India to South America, from Ghana to South Africa, from Togo to Zimbabwe, from Thailand and Korea and Japan and Singapore, Malaysia. We have seen that students around the world really thirst for more knowledge and understanding of who they are, of why I was born here, what is my purpose, what is my identity in my society. And TKM education continues to answer the question for them. We saw the thirst and the hunger in these students who had nothing, everything was taken from them, but they still had hope and they still had an eagerness to learn. this really sparked an interest for us over the next 8 years, up until today.
And so what we're finding is kids are hungry. They want to learn. They want a better tomorrow than what they see. Coming from the United States, sometimes we take for granted the ability to be educated. You know, we want to skip class, or we don't want to do our homework. But there are kids around this world who are hungry for education because they know that's the silver bullet. That is what can change everything. You know, you hear story after story about people who came from nothing, but when they were able to get that education, they may have been poor or slept in their cars, but then they got education and it was able to change their lives. Because then they were able to go into the halls of power and into academia and into businesses and to communities and be able to flourish because they knew something, they had something in their hand. And that's what we're trying to do for these kids who are less fortunate than the ones that we see every day that sometimes take it for granted.
This is where the great opportunity for growth is. In these developing economies, these developing regions, and these remote areas that hunger and thirst, students are eager to learn. And we want to provide them the opportunity to improve their lives and succeed in the future.
Because what scares me is that only the elite, only the privileged will be able to bring forth out of them the things that God has put in them. But what if God decided to put the cure of cancer in a slum in India? Or what if God decided to put the cure for AIDS in a gypsy in Albania? Or what if God decided to transform the earth of how we can keep our planet in an orphan in Zimbabwe? What if the gifts and the things and the inventions and the miracles that we need are lying in the people that we look over every single day? That's why TKM schools are important. That's why purpose education has to come on earth in this kingdom moment. This is why this paradigm shift in education is necessary.